Good evening once again, and a very warm welcome to this panel here. It's always a tough job to try and bring back the focus on business after a session full of stars. But these ladies here on the panel are stars and really bright ones in their own right. And thank you very much for making the time for us. What is the backdrop of this session and the title that we chose? Work-life balance, corporate culture. And all of you would recall the recent headlines and controversy that was generated around one unfortunate incident and the issue of whether Indian corporate culture helps employees achieve a balance between their health, their life, and their wealth. And we have three very diverse opinions, and I'm really happy about it. Endurance sports person, I don't know how many here knew that about Ms. Shankar here. Devita, someone who's in technology, and of course managing wealth. Ritu, that's what she's been doing all her life. I want to begin by getting all three of you to put this in context. How significant is this balance, and is corporate India, are your own companies helping employees find that right balance so that they can really enjoy what they are doing? Starting with you.
Hi everyone, good evening. I must say I wore a blingy jacket because we were following that glamorous panel, but they all wore very serious suits. So I'm stuck here with my blingy jacket.
Bling is good.
So I think this concept of balance is a little old. You know, we've all talked about, there used to be this time when we could all compartmentalize, this is work, you know, this is life, this is time with the kids. But I think for me, I used to feel that way when I was, I think, very young in my career. But I feel as we've gotten older, I've realized that both go very hand in hand. And when I'm on vacation, I definitely make sure to do at least 1 or 2 hours of work. When I'm at work, there are definitely times when I need to take a couple of hours to go attend one of my children's school functions. So I feel for me, it is very interspersed, and I feel that at different points in your life, you need to focus on different things. So sometimes if a family member is sick, you're going to, while you're working, you're still going to have to focus some energies to looking after certain family members. So I feel that balance for me is priorities in a certain point of time. And I feel that right now, both have to go very hand in hand. So like I said, I work on vacation for 1 or 2 hours just to make sure that when I come back, I'm not unprepared or not ready to go. And like I said, when I'm at work, you still have to make sure that you have time for family, you have time for friends, you have time for the health of, looking after health of family members when it's important. So I feel that everything has to happen together.
Devita, how do you achieve this balance? And in fact, I want to start by asking you, do you actually feel you have achieved this balance? And what about the rest of all the employees in your group?
Honestly, I don't think I have personally strived for balance as a word, because I genuinely love being a boss. So, and it's not just about being a CEO of my own company, it's also like since I was a child, I was always like the person that people would reach out to, you know, and someone people could depend on, even in my extended family, not just my employees, but friends, etc. So for me, I think I'm just someone who can, in that moment, give 100% focus to whoever I'm with and be fully prepared for them. And it's something that I think maybe it's a skill or a gift that I enjoy and I make the most of it. And also encourage this to my team members, you know, that today in a digital age, it's very easy to be distracted and then, you know, find stressors from the outside. That when you're working, like, you know, do deep work, etc. But then you make sure that that deep work also is within a routine. You know, my professor at USC used to say, he said, routine sets you free. And I think today in this whole world of work from home and hybrid, etc., I just find it very awkward that people send emails at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I have to reply back to an agency that, no, this is my employee's time for his family. Please don't make EOD by 6 p.m. So we're very strict and structured as a company. so that when we are working, we are fully working. And when it's time to leave, everybody leaves and comes and goes at the same time. So whether, you want to drop your kid or go to the gym or mandir or whatever you feel like it, my employees don't come back and say that I've really stretched them. But I think I'm the kind of person that even when I go home and I'm with my friends, I'm someone who's always on, and I personally really enjoy it.
Okay, I'll come back with some follow-ups to both of you, but I want to go to Ritu here and ask you this question. There are two things that people generally say. One is, मेरे पास time नहीं है. There's a lot of pressure. The other is a reality that to achieve a certain kind of balance, you also need resources, especially when you are living in our big modern cities. Does wealth become a prerequisite for achieving this kind of balance?
If you permit me, I'll take a minute to also answer your original
Sure.
question.
Please,
More
absolutely.
because my views are a little different from my panelists, and then I'll come to this question of yours. I think for me, if people were to describe me in one word, it would be balanced. So it is the essence of who I am, and I think it is a routine or a very strict discipline with which I have lived, which has helped me balance. I'm in a career which requires extensive global travel. I'm a mother of two. I live with my in-laws. I'm in a joint family. And for me, that balance, and when I say balance, it reminds me of the tarazu that we've seen. It's never in equilibrium, right? It's always moving. One side is moving up and down, and you're constantly balancing the weights to try to put it in equilibrium, and that's how it is. So at different points in time in my career, in my life, I've had to balance. There have been times when work took priority, there have been times when family took priority, but I think that balance is very important, and I see many a women burning out in trying to be a superwoman, trying to, do it all. But readjusting that weight is the essence to keeping sanity in the way I have approached life. So it's slightly different. And for me, as a discipline, I don't work on weekends. I never have. As an exception, I would have maybe 15 weekends in my entire career. So that is how I have compartmentalized. So it's a little different from the young ladies here that I have led my career. And I'm sure it's what works for everyone. Each one of us is different. So I thought I'll put that perspective also for some like me who might be, trying to achieve a similar balance. As far as wealth comes, like everything, wealth does cushion things, of course. And that comes with financial literacy and financial independence, which I really strive and hope that women more and more take in their control. It has been a domain where women, even working women, earning women, tend to depend on the male members of the family to build wealth. So that is something that I think increasingly and hopefully women take in their own domain, and it does cushion things. But is it a prerequisite? Probably not.
Okay.
Because I even have house helps who tell me, I need these 2 days off, and I need to do these things with my kids. So I think it's more a mind frame. Of course, wealth does make it easier.
Okay, a mind frame, that's a very important point, and you're a sports person yourself. Would I be fair in saying that some of the issues that we read about and report as journalists also have to do with the frailties of Gen Z in a social media age, and perhaps that concept of hard work means something very different to the current younger generation than what all of you or I have seen. Would you agree with that postulation? Would you agree that when there is a debate around work-life balance or stress for the younger Indians who are joining corporate life, that perhaps this whole debate about hard work and the value system, and you remember what happened when Mr. Narayan Murthy spoke about it, is the younger generation approaching this concept very differently, and how do you deal with them in your companies? That's what I was really...
Yeah, I think it's very, it's whatever statement we make will be very generalized because it changes from person to person.
I thought for a moment you'll take issue with Mr. Narayan Murthy.
No, I think my philosophy is like sometimes you have to do whatever needs to be done to get the job done, right?
Okay.
So at that point in time, he felt he needed to work XYZ hours, and he did that. And again, as part of a second generation company, I know how the hours my dad put in, right? Maybe working 7 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day. And I know that I don't put in those hours, and maybe I don't need to also. But doesn't mean that necessarily that maybe we are less resilient or less stronger. But I think, you know, the topic is too vast to sort of cover, but there's so many aspects to it. Like definitely Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they are not looking to work those long hours. I think their philosophy to life is more of how do I get to enjoy life? Whereas maybe the philosophy of life from our parents' time was, you know, you have to work hard and hard work is the key to success in life. So I think the philosophy of how people are approaching lives and different generations are approaching lives has changed. Even in our generation, it used to be, okay, I need more work-life balance. You know, and then as I get closer to my parents' age, I'm realizing that maybe balance is not something that, or my definition of balance is different. So I would say every generation does have a different philosophy towards life, just as different countries. I remember going to Australia once, and for them, life is all about, I'm going to work 6 months to see how I can just enjoy the remaining 6 months of the year. So people work just for 6 months of the year. The whole philosophy of life and that culture is how do I get to enjoy life the most? Whereas in India, the dynamics are different. It's a very competitive country. There's so many people, population, poverty. So people feel like, okay, I need to really work hard to set myself apart. So I think countries have different philosophies, generations have different philosophies. And yeah, I think the next gen doesn't want to slog it out, right? That's why you have more number of people wanting to be YouTube influencers and different reality TV stars and less engineers and scientists.
Devita, you agree with that?
First of all, I would really like to thank Ritu for calling me the young ladies here. That's very sweet. I started my company more than 18 years ago. So the fact that I'm one of those young entrepreneurs makes me very happy. Please keep all the adulations. Every year I get this young entrepreneur award and I'm like, what is the benchmark? But I think women today are permanently young. Am I right?
Really meant.
All of us are young.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that. And I think honestly, I get, what Nirupa is mentioning, that the generational difference between our parents' generation, us who are millennials, and the Gen Z, it's a very drastic change. And we are kind of like this in-between generation who has seen very strict socialist, pre-socialist, India, a very like traditional mindset, etc. And then there's us, and then this younger generation who's a whole different way of looking at it. I think today, honestly, if you have to be successful in business, you have to be in love with the young generation, whether you agree with them or not, because they are your consumer. They are the ones today who are inspiring their parents that, listen, we want to buy like this TV or this house or this financial investment. And so however old we become, to stay relevant, we have to become Gen Zs at heart. And when you actually look at this generation, I will say it is not a very structured, strict life like it was before, but their priorities are very different. Like today I find that in the younger generation, the gender battle is a lot less. There's a lot more equality between men and women in the Gen Z generation. The second is that because of cell phones, etc., they're always on. So I'll have my team come and tell me on a Monday morning that, oh ma'am, we saw this thing at this TV at this place and we can do something like that. So the fact that their brain is working even outside of office hours is great. The third thing is, I will say that they're not a generation that's been raised by their parents or their bosses. It's a generation that's raised by Google. So what happens for them is they have a lot of very confusing parameters of, who they should follow, where you have to be a good leader and a good boss and say, you know what, I will meet you halfway in your, whatever trend they may follow of, defining their lives, etc. But this is the way the company is, this is how I am as a boss, and this is the policy that I have. If we can meet midway, even my company will move forward in the future.
Okay.
So I think I must be one of those very rare people who actually loves hanging out. Most of my friends today, I think, are in their 20s. And I feel like if you're just open-minded to them and little bit ignore some of the comparisons, you'll be in business for a long time.
Absolutely. You said children being raised by Google. I thought you would say children being raised by Cartoon Network. But Ritu, continue on this strand of thought that we are having here, with the additional point that I come back to the issue of financial freedom. Many years back, the company that I used to work for tried to bring in a structured saving product for all employees on a compulsory basis, and we realized that some of the employees below the age of 30 actually did not sign up for it. They wanted more money to spend than to save. So is that societal issue also playing out in the headlines these days?
For sure, there is a change in the way India is, and that's also a reflection of the way the country has progressed. There's affluence that is more widespread now, and that we can see. I mean, if you compare the lifestyle of an average Indian in 1930s, 40s, 70s, and today, it's very different. And the affluence, the middle class is much wider, and it's permeating to different parts of the country, geographies, smaller cities. So that definitely makes a difference in the way people are spending and saving, and that is very evident even in the GDP. So as a percentage of GDP, about 25 years back, we were saving 40% as an average household. 40% of what an average household earned was saved. Now it's 19%. That is quite a dramatic shift in 25 years, and that's a reflection of the country as a whole. So we are, and that is exactly what is the strength of the country when we talk of the demographic dividend. We are as a country spending more, and that is what makes us such an attractive investment destination. And what do we spend on? So affluence means we start spending on health, we spend on schooling, we are spending on travel. So if you see these, we are spending
Better
on household,
food.
Conveniences, food, absolutely. Food is actually the first in Maslow's hierarchy. So food comes first, but these things are following. And so there is this is what is keep bringing all the energy to our economy.
Right.
So I don't know if it's worrying or it's good. 19 is still okay. But if we go down to negative as some of the developed economies, that would be worrying. If we start borrowing to spend, that would be worrying. But we're okay for now.
All right. Nirupa, I have 3 minutes on the session, so a minute to each of you. Starting with you, what is that one bit of advice that you would share with not just your younger self, but all the young people who might be listening into this conversation?
I think not to stress so much. I think all of us put a lot of pressure on ourselves and a lot of stress on ourselves. And I remember I did this in college. I thought I wanted certain grades, and I put so much pressure on myself to try to do that. And I didn't enjoy the moment. And I think like you were saying about living like the next generation, it's all about YOLO. You only live life once. So I think it's enjoying the moment, enjoying where you are now. And of course, doesn't mean you get complacent where you are, but enjoying the moment and not to put undue stress on ourselves.
Devita, that very same question to you.
Well, one is what I'll tell younger people, and one is what I would tell my younger self. But now that she's established my youth age, I'll just say it for young people in general. I think I would say that stay away from bad decisions. You know, personally, I feel with the younger generation especially, 3 things I would say stay away from, young, old, whoever. Stay away from the 3 Ds, as I call it. Okay, one is stay away from debt. Like, don't take on crazy amounts of money, or don't take on debt that you can't handle, or debt for your lifestyle, as she mentioned. The second is stay away from drugs, which is also today considered very recreational, very cool with it. You know, people always ask me that, you move around high circles, why you never do drugs? And I said, today you'll not see an actor eat like chocolate cake for breakfast, right? They'll lose their job. Same way as entrepreneurs and professionals, we cannot afford to fry our brains up. So please don't do drugs. The third thing I'll say is, I can't find a better word for it, but to say is like stay from, divorces or divorcees or whatever you call it.
Bad relationships?
I would say don't make bad decisions when it comes to your personal life,
Wonderful.
I feel a lot of young people today, and it's a very challenging generation because they're navigating so much, but don't put yourself in danger and don't mess up your own heart-brain system by consciously getting into a situation that's bad for you. You see so much of this online. Like, prioritize yourself and run and stay away and have your own ethics system. That, you're never in a boardroom, in a big meeting and, stressing about a personal situation. So yeah, I would say that don't make bad decisions. Everything else is kind of manageable.
3 wonderful Ds, and I'm sure people will listen into that. Ritu, the final word on the panel to you.
Sure. I'm fortunate today in the room. I have my younger self, my daughter, 24-year-old there, and my mother, my older self, who's always been my inspiration. If I reflect and I were giving advice to my younger self, I always think one should play with passion, but not make it significant. Success chasing puts a lot of pressure on oneself. Second thing I would say is be curious, try to explore. And the third would be don't be shy to ask for help, lean in. It's not possible to do everything, not possible to achieve everything by yourself, so ask for help. So that is what I would tell myself.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for those words. I thank my entire panel for their time with us today. A round of applause for the ladies here on the panel. With that, we move into our next session. Thank you very much.